Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Film As We Know It podcast, a podcast about our love of film. I'm your host, a random history teacher and film enthusiast in Callaghan, and my co-host, as always, Zach Hamelton. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I feel like I should be like, I work in film because you went in your thing. I'm a random guy who works in film. There you go.
Yeah.
Keeping in the vein.
You make films possible. You help them possible.
I do. I handle mostly money and clients like studios like Lionsgate and Sony, and then make sure that their visual effects dreams can happen while also managing a team of artists. It's fun. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have I been up to? Well, I had Willie Nelson concert last night. So that was exciting. It was interesting. I ended up having to go stag because the missus wasn't feeling too hot. Which is weird to go to a concert by yourself, but I made friends, so it was fine. I ended up making friends with like 9 different people. And then there was this one lady, I got to tell you, man, she really stood out because she was like that energetic person who's just got like that, like she's the life of the party vibe.
She was
and
a
at first I'm like, great, this lady's nice. You know, she was a little older. She's probably like late 30s, not like older, but just like a little older than me. And like her boyfriend was like probably in his late 40s. Great couple. Everything was going good. But as the night progressed, and mind you, it was a festival, so it started at like 3:30, went till like 11. She got more and more into the drink, if you will.
Yeah.
And got more and more energetic. And then I was like, I went from like, I should get their number because, you know, I need new friends. I'm in North Carolina now, right? To like, but I don't know if I want to go out with her. She seems like someone who would get everybody in trouble. But she was great. And the thing I will say is like, I would run into her in the common areas, right? Like when we weren't like in our seats and stuff. Yeah. And she would like, you know, but oh, hey, what's up? Oh, blah, you know, talking like it's just totally fun, like nice, never like crazy. But like she was like that with everybody, like the people that were like near the VIP, the people in the lines, like, and she would ask their name. And then like she still somehow remembered my name. I think that was the thing that really shocked me is like she was like making friends with everybody, but still remembered everyone's names, despite how clearly more and more progressed she got into the alcohol. She was still able to like remember everybody's names. It was insane.
Yeah, that's nice. Impressive. Sweet, you know.
Yeah,
easy to be friendly with a person like that.
Yeah, it was a great concert. Obviously, Willie Nelson is getting up there in years, but he's still a hell of a performer. Amazing guitarist. He played with his sons Lucas and Micah, who his stage name is Particle Kid, and it was a lot of fun.
Definitely a lot voice?
His voice is okay. There was a couple songs that like he would kind of be like, "Oh, you guys," like, you know, like let us sing it for him a little bit. But there was definitely a couple of songs like I don't know. I think he did pretty okay for the most part. It wasn't too bad. There's still like remnants there, but I will say the one thing that has not gone away is his guitar playing. Like he is still absolutely shredding it. Lucas Nelson, if you're a listener who's into country music, Lucas Nelson's fantastic. He's very, I know. He's got a bit of a funk style to him, a little bit like Sturgill Simpson. But he's got a great voice and he sounds a lot like his father, but he played a couple of his songs too. And it was great. It was a really fun, it was good vibes. I got offered 2 joints. I did not partake. I did not inhale on the record. So, you know, did I get a secondhand high? It's possible. Very possible.
Probably.
Literally the guy next to me was smoking hardcore blunts and they did not check people for sure. It's a Willie Nelson concert. When he starts singing "Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die," there was like a atmosphere change, literally just a haze in the area. The whole place was hotbox.
And this was in Asheville, right?
No, this was in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
I was about to say if it was in Asheville, then I wholly believe that hardcore.
yeah, it was great though. Charlie Crockett was there too. I'm a big Charlie Crockett fan, so seeing him live was fantastic. Nathaniel Ratliff was there as well as Billy Strings, obviously Particle Kid. Lucas Nelson's son, or not Lucas, Willie Nelson's son, Micah, played as well. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good concert. The other thing that happened that you can maybe speak to too, but I feel like I got railed more than you, is our punishments got dealt out finally. We finally released those punishments into the wild. And I got to say, I was a little miffed. I feel like there's a little bit of an asterisk with you because you didn't post yours to Facebook until like late in the day.
I did it.
You did. And you did get so. And I found very quickly that the thing that makes that punishment bad is not Twitter, because those are just random people that don't like your opinions.
Yeah.
When it's your actual friends that don't like you, or they start questioning your life decisions, that's when it becomes a problem. And I'm going to say some of my favorites. And then Tim, you should share if you have any really good ones, you should do it too. But as a reminder, Tim's punishment for me, my thing that I had to post on Twitter and Facebook without defending it, at best, all I could say was watch the podcast, was Shyamalan's The Last Airbender superior to any of the animated shows? Come at me. And boy, did they. I got someone with a gift saying, get that nonsense out of here. This is probably arguably my favorite one, Sean Awashko. Shout out to Sean. I see you chose violence this morning. It's a good one.
That is a good one. That one made me laugh.
Ashley, who has been on the show on Trial by Contact, posted, "Are you okay? I'm here if you're having a breakdown." And then I got one saying, Ish said, "Zach's out here trying to get blacklisted with these hot takes." And there was more. But yeah, so those are kind of some of the spicier ones. Mostly from Facebook. Again, adding to why I was a little miffed that you waited so late to post to Facebook, because that's where I was getting absolutely just destroyed.
I have such a low social media existence to begin with. So that's why I thought originally when we talked, because I'm more on Twitter than I am on Facebook. Yeah. So that's why I was like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to post it on Twitter. So that's where I thought it would deal the most punishment. But you're right. I got the most comments on Facebook for sure, but I didn't get anywhere near as what you got.
I will say this, though. What was surprising is that people believed you wrote it. You were all like, oh, I never post on Facebook. No one's going to believe that. And everyone was like immediately responding as if like no one questioned that you wrote it. They were just like talking about the comment.
It definitely hurt post. Though. Like the first one I got was extended cut Suicide Squad, I think salvages the character a great deal. And I'm like, no, but that's in my head.
I agree with Emily. But that's, I'm not saying he's a good Joker, but I will say it's salvaged it at least a little bit for sure.
I have no interest. And then one of my buddies who I swear we had a few pints when I visited him in New York last, and we even talked about our mutual dislike and disdain of Jared Leto, was like, what is this? I can't stand Jared Leto. Like, I can't believe you said this. And it's like, man, just listen to the podcast. We drank over this. We know that Jared Leto is terrible. But yeah, I think my strategy of trying to anger a fan base in general was the better strategy.
It was, because I have a lot of friends that obviously are into movies and TV shows. Most people are. And it spoke volumes to them in not a good way. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Has like a crazy hardcore fan base. I guess rightfully so. I've only seen a few episodes. I'm trying to get my kids into it so I can watch. They're doing a new
series, I believe, though. Now.
It doesn't surprise me. Like it's universally loved.
Yeah. It's a great show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get the show kicked off officially. And I'll suggest a topic for suggestion, I guess, or a question, if you will. If you're looking back, Tim, what's a movie that you absolutely love, but maybe other people find to be like an absolutely terrible movie? In the vein of us doing Super Mario Brothers today, I'm like, there's got to be a movie that's really bad, like a Sharknado or something that just, it's not necessarily that it's a good movie. It's just like it makes you feel good when you watch it. Like you just enjoy it.
I have a few that I could put up here.
Well, let's choose one.
I'll talk about
my guy, the overachiever over here.
Well, let me list
12.
I won't do 12. I'll mention some.
Okay.
And then I'll go in depth on one. How about that?
There we go. I like it.
Does that work? Okay. So some ones that definitely come to mind. One we've talked about, our mutual love of Days of Thunder. It does not get talked about as a great Tom Cruise movie, and we obviously defend it. I would say Captain Ron is up there for me, that people seem to hate, that I love.
My Aunt Lisa absolutely loves that movie, and they are boat people. So I'm not saying that that's maybe part of the reason why, but
I'm not even a boat person, but it cracks me up. Everybody's so good in that movie. But Joe versus the Volcano, I really love, that a lot of people dislike for Tom Hanks and such, but I love it. And then for my horror movie enthusiast, I love the Friday the 13th series, and I like Jason X And not everybody likes Jason
Hot
X.
takes.
I think Jason X is
for
hilarious.
future punishments that aren't necessarily not truthful, but
Yeah,
might
it would
anger
just be,
people
it would be.
nonetheless.
It's so funny though. There's a jokes miles a minute and they fit and it just works. It's okay. He just wanted his machete back. The look on the zoom in look on Jason's like eyes when they do the VR room and they're like girls being like, we're gonna have premarital sex and smoke pot, and his eyes are just like, oh, like like a dude seeing a ball they're about to hammer out of the ballpark. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that.
He's like, oh, you are speaking my language. I cannot wait to murder you later.
Exactly. He's like hitting them against a tree in a sleeping bag. It's just so funny. I love it. And
Nice.
Another thing I would love to mention is heavyweights. I think everybody loves it when they've seen it.
Jacqueline was a big fan of that, and I'd never seen it before. And that was one of the first movies that we watched together remotely because we were obviously doing the distance thing initially in our relationship. And it was actually pretty good. I've never heard of it before.
It's so good. And it doesn't, and like even Ben Stiller, people like put it as one of the worst Ben Stiller movies. And I'm like, no, it is the best movie. I was a camp counselor. I'd quote that movie like all the time. So many great characters and lines that I'll still throw out to this day. You know, lunch is canceled due to lack of hustle. Deal with it. Like there's just so many good things in that movie, and it's never thrown out there as like a Disney classic. And I'm here to say that movie's amazing and needs to be like on everybody's top 10 list. That's how I knew my wife was the one. I gave her a shirt to wear. And when she was at my house or at my place, like when we were really early in our relationship, and she put the shirt on.
Huh? Why'd you need a shirt, Tim?
Don't do that to me. But anyway, she put the shirt on and she knew what it was. And it was a Percocet shirt that they wore, the counselors wore from heavyweights. Like I'm Percocizing, like I have a shirt of that. And I gave it to her and she knew what it was. And right there, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you knew what this was.
Nice.
And
yeah, it's tough for me to really think about a movie that I feel like people dislike because I don't know. I normally don't care what people think. Their opinions don't really bother me too much, I think, with that. But if I had to like think of something that like in general, people probably that's tough. Like I think the one that's on the nose for me, and even you have mentioned that it's not your favorite Costner film. Would be For the Love of the Game. Like I do genuinely really like that movie. I know it's got its flaws, but I do still like that movie. Yeah. Again, I'm a Tigers fan, obviously, despite our terrible season, our continued terrible seasons. There's a Lions game happening in like 10 minutes from when we're recording this right now. And I don't know how I'm going to watch it. I've been trying to figure it out. I don't have DirecTV. And I can't go to a bar to watch it because we've got too much stuff going on today. So I might have to just listen to it on like TuneIn Radio. But
I'd invite you over to my parents, but there's no way that we're going to be watching that game. So
I'm excited. And I just finished Hard Knocks. And they spent training camp with the Lions this past season. So it's kind of cool to see them restructuring and really trying to get the team ready.
Is it making you feel better about your season or worse? Is it making you feel better about your season?
I honestly do feel, I feel some promise. Like it was tough seeing some of the players like genuinely struggling with how terrible of a season it was last season. Cause let's be real, they only won 3 games. Like it is arguably one of the worst seasons that I think most teams have had in football in general.
Yeah.
But even for Lions, it was pretty bad. And like seeing them be like, we're not going to get made to feel like that again. Like they were emotional, you know, like the players that were still on the team from the past season, you could tell like they were taking that as fuel into the next season. But I mean, their preseason games weren't bad. Like there's a lot of promise there.
Preseason means nothing.
I know, but still, I'm still excited. It's just
I think we're both going to be miserable, man. I'm a Giants fan. It's not looking good for me this year, but I guess you don't have Matt Patricia anymore, right? Wasn't that your coach? Yeah, so like automatically it's going to be an improved season.
There's a lot of restructuring for sure. And then also like there's a lot of really great rookie talent on the team that I'm excited about too. So we'll just have to see, you know. Yeah. And there's a lot of rookies that are starting, you know, like in really good spots that I think is going to be different too. But it's all part of the the mindset for the Lions going. We've gotten way off track, and now we're talking about sports.
It's a sports podcast now. Hello,
yeah,
everybody.
it really did turn into that. Let us know if you want a sports podcast. We finally got a recording working, so there you go. We can do more. But For the Love of the Game is a good one. But as far as like just kind of a guilty pleasure, I guess, if you will, it kind of falls into that vein too. I would say is The Breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston. I don't know why, but it just cracked. Like there's a couple of scenes for sure that stand out to me. Number one being the I don't want you to do the dishes. I want you to want to do the dishes. And I got to tell you, man, I think every man has been in a relationship like that, where it's just like, I'm going to do the trash. Like, no. I don't want you to take out the trash. I want you to want to take out the trash. Like, what do you want from me? All right. The trash is going out. It shouldn't matter whether I want to or not. Like, seriously. So that's a great one. And then also when he's trash talking that kid when he's playing Xbox Live, that was a really good scene too. But there's a lot of good moments for sure.
That one's a better one because I do like For the Love of the Game. I am a sucker for it. Like I said before, the game itself, the baseball game, is actually
it's the romance parts that you struggle with.
Yeah, it's not as solid there, and I it's a little bit more of a snooze for that part of the movie. But I'm still impressed by the actual, because not every game is like great. Like, do you remember? What was it? The Fan? You remember The Fan with Wesley Snipes, right? Mm-hmm. And Robert De Niro. And like, you see such like ridiculous, like baseball mistakes, like it's pouring rain and they're still playing baseball, or like the director purposely wants them to run down the third baseline because the lighting's better. It's like, oh no, you're ruining the sport. You don't run down to third base. Like,
insane.
But the you know, for that game, For the Love of the Game, man, you don't have that, and it's just a really good moment.
Ironically, a movie titled The Fan, clearly not made by fans of the sport.
Yeah, it's
sounds like a potential really future Tales from the Set there.
Maybe. I haven't looked into it. It sounds interesting.
Should we get to Tales from the Set?
I guess we should. Although I do want to say one thing: if you do ever get DirecTV, because you got to get your lines fixed on, then I might be interested just to hop over yours on Sunday if you got that big projector.
With the
multiple screens on the projector.
I'll watch a Giants game or whatever. We can split screen it.
Split screen it on the giant projector.
I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down for that.
Fun.
I feel like this is going to eventually lead into a fantasy area. We're going to have our own The League scenario popping up here. We're going to get to.
I don't even have a football fantasy anymore. Both my college and high school groups folded theirs. It's really
I almost fell into this one that had a bunch of like producers in it, and I think there's like one director, and then it just fizzled out because
I have a work one left, and it's not for any money, and it's because it's like school connected, so we didn't want to do any kind of betting with a school. So I don't care about it since there's no money involved whatsoever.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of disappointing. I do have a basketball one,
that sweet cash that's on the line. Then I'm not into it.
Yeah. All I got left is an NBA fantasy one that I like.
I would have a lot fewer Lions on my fantasy team for real. Like, as much as I'm a Lions fan, like I'm not delusional. Okay. Like if I want to win, I want to win. I'm saying there are some, I would probably still choose some, but anyway, we're getting way off the rails here.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So let's sit back in our favorite chair and grab some popcorn, maybe listen to some tales from the set of this month's selection, the live action adaptation of Super Mario Brothers, or as Tim likes to say, Super Mario Brothers.
I'm weird.
I'm excited for this one. I've been waiting for this. As we've mentioned and teased before, this is probably the fastest research Tim's ever done because he was just so into it, and it was quite the page turner. Tim, take it away.
Yeah, and I have connections to this one, right? Like, I think I was 7 years old.
Famous birthday party, right?
Yeah, 7 years old. And I took everybody to see this, and we were so distraught coming out of this. But yeah, man. So Super Mario Brothers. Cue the trailer thing again.
Yeah, here we go.
I keep thinking of the trailer because it's so funny.
Super Mario Brothers. This ain't no game.
Well, it's got a great tagline, as you just heard. In future edits where I've edited it in. But yeah, you've heard it's this time it ain't no game. It's so great.
So this is the first video game that got a live movie adaptation.
Really?
This is the first one, which is kind of hard to believe, but yeah, this is the first one.
Wow.
Okay. So, and I guess it was a pretty hot topic. Like what major studio, right, is going to get the Super Mario Brothers movie,
in fairness,
right?
It is a 100% like major IP.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where I think everybody in the world, there's like few characters that everybody in the world like recognizes, like no matter what country or culture you're from, you know, like Superman, everybody knows who Superman is. Like Mario is one of them, as much as I'm saying it weird and wrong, but I feel like that's one of those recognizable characters. So Nintendo is like meeting with like all the major studios, like 20th Century Fox, Columbia, TriStar Pictures, like they're all coming to Nintendo, trying to like sweep them off their feet and trying to get them to choose them. Right. And shockingly enough, a very small production company ends up winning, headed by Roland Joffe and Jake Eberts, and of Light Motive. Right. Okay. So yeah. And they're not unknown. They won Oscars for The Killing Fields, Chariots of Fire. This is the company. Bro, somehow.
I just love this so much because it's like we're hot. What are we gonna take next? We're gonna do Super Mario Bros. And they destroy it so much. Like, do they work after this movie?
I don't know. I have to look into that too. I'm not positive what happened. This is a career
ender.
Yeah, because it's kind of crazy that you're winning Oscars for like, I mean, even if you don't know or seen the movie Chariots of Fire, you know the song. Right. Yeah. Like right. Everybody knows it. So it's kind of crazy that this is the movie that wins. Right. So they get the rights and they only pay $2 million for it.
All right.
Yeah. So even at the time, that's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But Nintendo likes what they pitched. Right. So they wanted this, this more dark, grittier take for some odd reason that was on board for Nintendo, which is really weird to me. That Nintendo was on board for that. Right. So crazy. So the money for the rights was not a lot, but what enticed Nintendo to accept the offer was that they would give the video game console maker full ownership of the merchandising rights as well.
Oh, I got to look this up. Continue. I want to see if there's toys.
Yeah, they gave Nintendo merchandising rights for it. They gave creative control over the movie's production to Nintendo. So creative control was in Nintendo's hands. So Nintendo was like, we get to keep the merchandising rights. We get creative control. And so that was like one of the reasons why they're okay with only paying 10 or accepting 2 million is because I guess they were thinking we can make up, all these other things and still keep creative control, because there's no way that like 20th Century Fox and Columbia and all these other companies were going to be like, cool, you have creative control. Like big companies like that wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, Light Motive is the one that gets the gig. All right. So then after that, it's like, okay, what's next? Who's going to, we got to attach some big names to this. So the producers are trying to get Dustin Hoffman for whatever reason. So Dustin Hoffman is the producer's choice, but Nintendo doesn't like Dustin Hoffman. And so there was a small mini war over Dustin Hoffman, oddly enough, with Super Mario Brothers. Nintendo president Arakawa didn't think he was right for the part, and when asked what the reason was, he squinted ever so slightly and then quietly said no before moving on to the next thing.
Oh my God. All right, hold on 1 second. Hold on, because we will post stuff in the chat. Or I'm going to post stuff in the chat here, but we'll post this on the video. So if you're listening, I'll link dump where these are pulled from. But you have got to see this because we're talking about all these major people, right? Getting casted. their likeness, all of this. And I'm telling you, bro, you've got to look at this. So look at our chat. They have toys. Full on
really?
toys.
I should have looked at this up too. Oh my gosh.
You got to see them though, man. Like
John Leguizamo looks really weird.
He does not look like, I gotta say Bob Hoskins' likeness is there for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these are like all the like different toys that came out. This is so insane.
Wow, the police car and everything.
So they really did go for it, man. They really did. It's just, oh my God, man.
This is crazy.
Anyway, so not to derail you, but we as we're looking at them now, future Zach will put in images so you can look along beside us. But it is something to behold. So they did actually go after, because I'm like, I don't remember the toys. But so Nintendo did try to go after it, and they had Pog caps, which let's get into the 90s even more with Pogs. That. But yeah, they also had that too.
That's a big deal.
Pogs. It was. Anyways, back to you, Tim.
Okay. So after, Dustin Hoffman pursuit didn't work out, the next person that they were interested that was kind of getting popular was Danny DeVito.
My God.
So they're trying to get Danny DeVito to be in the movie. And mind you, I'm pretty sure this is all for Mario, by the way. Dustin Hoffman was considered for Mario, Danny DeVito. So they're looking for shorter people, I guess, right? Fair enough. Danny DeVito reads the script and says no.
So I wonder why.
Yeah. So then once DeVito read the script and said no, they go to Tom Hanks. And which is odd choice to go to next, right? Because Tom Hanks not a short dude. Excuse me. But so Tom Hanks agrees to do the movie.
What?
Agrees. Tom Hanks said yes.
A version where there's a possibility where Tom Hanks would have been Super Mario.
Yeah. And it's going to come full circle here. It's kind of funny. So he agrees to do the movie for $5 million. But then his movie, Joe versus the Volcano and The Burbs comes out.
Full circle here.
Exactly. Both bombed really bad. So basically rescinded Tom Hanks' offer, right?
Man, he has no idea how much of a bullet he dodged.
Yeah. Before they could put pen to paper, the movie producers decided to pull the offer. And so instead of making Super Mario Brothers, Tom Hanks goes off to make a little movie called Philadelphia.
Wow. Did he choose correctly?
Right?
Wins the movie gods were watching over him.
It's kind of insane, right? So, and also, I guess another reason why they were not feeling Joe vs. Volcano on The Burbs too was Nintendo apparently again wanted this darker, grittier Mario movie, and thought Tom Hanks was a comedian and didn't really fit. Which is again interesting since he went off and made Philadelphia right after this.
I know, man. I know, and I think for me, it's just like I'm trying to understand the reasoning behind like. We're normally very family minded, but now we want to go dark and gritty. Like, what was it rated? I'm gonna look it up.
Oh,
PG.
Yeah,
it was still PG. Well, back in the 90s, though, PG was loose because you could have some 90s movies that I feel like today would have probably been PG-13, in fairness. But
yeah, Jaws is PG.
Yeah, that should not be PG.
But of course, PG-13 didn't exist yet. That was like
that's true.
Due to Spielberg. I think it was the second Indiana Jones or something, one of those movies where they invented PG-13.
I'm sorry, I'm still reveling over all these toys. Like they had cars, they had set pieces. I mean, they had a Play-Doh thing where like the brain scrambler.
That's where they're gonna make money off this, man. I mean, again, the big deal, this movie.
Anyways, all right. So Tom Hanks is out, goes and makes an Oscar winning performance out. Not in this movie,
right? Not in this movie.
Where do we go next?
So basically, they move on to let's cast a different role. We're struggling here, finding somebody for Mario, right? So let's go to try to cast King Koopa, and. So interestingly enough, they try to get Michael Keaton,
Nice.
who's at this time very famous for Batman, obviously turns it down.
I wonder why.
They go to another giant star at this time, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Holy Jesus. Can you imagine that? It might actually be worth watching.
Maybe it would have been more fun. I don't know. Although, because I have to say,
these Mario brothers, they're coming after me all the time with their plumbing.
Get to the chopper. I'm here. Kill me, Mario.
Get to the Goomba.
Do it now.
Oh my God.
So yeah. So Dennis Hopper, though, is a lot of fun in that movie, I have to say. As bad as it is, Dennis Hopper's having a good time. Although actually he's clearly not, as we're going to get into it. But
on screen, it looks as though he might be.
Yes, exactly.
In reality, it's as much of a fire as it turned out to be.
Yes. So Dennis Hopper accepts the role after Keaton and Schwarzenegger turns it down. And one of the reasons why Hopper accepted it was it was a nice paycheck, and he was apparently contractually only going to be on set for 5 weeks.
Yeah, you know.
So he's like, cool, I'm going to get paid 5 weeks. That sounds cool. That 5 weeks turned into 17 weeks. So more than 4 months of his life went to Super Mario Brothers.
The thing that I have to say that shocks me most is that as career ending as this movie probably, I don't want to be too hard on the movie. Watch it for yourselves, be the judge. But he followed this with True Romance, Speed, and Waterworld, all within like within 2 years were released from this. You know what I mean? And it's like he still was doing okay after this. Like it didn't hurt him.
That's 50-50. Waterworld was a big bomb.
I know, but it's got a cult following though.
Well, I guess so does Super Mario Brothers. Like there's podcasts of people that will watch 1 second or something like that, or 5 seconds of the movie at a time. And yeah, I know it's really weird. There is a weird thing for how, I guess, so bad it's good type of deal for this movie. I don't get it, but yeah.
Hey, in vain of what we started with, right? Our topic for today. Yeah,
exactly.
So Dennis Hopper gets screwed with the set time, 7 weeks.
Yep. So anyway, I guess, and when asked by his 6-year-olds, why did he take this role? Dennis Hopper replied, so you can have shoes.
I love the idea of like his 6-year-old going to see movies like, so Dad, tell me, why'd you make this terrible movie? Why? I don't know why he sounds like a gangster. Like, listen here, see, but this movie sucks, see, and why'd you do it? I just love it. Like it's from a critic standpoint, not like even at 6, he's like, this movie sucks. Why did you make this?
Yeah. So, anyway, in the meantime, they get Dennis Hopper, right? And they do pursue for Mario. They finally get Bob Hoskins,
which is still a crazy casting to me.
Yeah, well, he gets it because he's coming off big not that long after Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right? So he's kind of starting to blow up. I don't think Shatter did that well. That was kind of somewhat recently after or before this too. But so yeah, Bob Hoskins was a pretty big get, right? So they get Bob Hoskins. They're able to get basically everywhere else they want. John Leguizamo gets signed on. Like he's huge in the early 90s. So they get almost everybody else that they want. For this movie. So it's a pretty insane cast that they get with this, right? So from there, so the cast was solid. It was now time to kind of figure out who was going to be behind the camera. Right. So they're casting all this and all this kind of stuff is going on. And this is just the producers and Nintendo. We haven't even figured out who's making this movie yet.
Oof.
So Greg Beeman, who directed 1988's License to Drive, was initially hired to direct this movie. But the investors didn't feel very comfortable with Beeman due to him only having directed one movie. So maybe because his picture, Mom and Dad Save the World, was not doing well either in this time period. Then they went to Harold Ramis and Danny DeVito at one point. So not to be Mario anymore, but to direct it.
I feel like Harold Ramis may have been able to salvage this potentially. Well, I don't know that he would because it's weird that they're going to directors like that when they don't want to go comedic.
It's super weird. You know? And I guess too, this was, I guess, before Hoskins signed on when they went to DeVito. And I guess when they offered him Mario and he said no after reading the script, and then they went back to them was like, well, what if you direct it and star in it type of deal.
Okay, so it was a package deal.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm a little unclear on this, if they were actually both not only approached, but they actually got attached at one point, but in the end, obviously it didn't work out.
Yeah.
They left the project. And so then it went to this husband and wife team, Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. They only directed one theatrically released movie themselves, DOA, at this point, which I don't know that movie, but anyway.
Oh, it's an irony title because this movie also might have been DOA.
Yeah.
Upon release.
So they're going to some big hitters here, Harold Ramis and Danny DeVito and stuff like that to try to direct. And then they end up settling with this husband and wife. We've only done one other movie before. So that's where we're at. So now that we've got a director or co-directors here, husband and wife.
Yeah.
We got a solid cast. Now we got to write the movie. We don't have a script yet. So Barry Morrow, who wrote Rain Man, was hired to write the script. And he left due to creative differences. Was not getting along with everybody with what they wanted to do. So he left. And then we have Jim Jinween and Thomas Parker, who came in. They were the ones that did the Flintstones and Richie Rich screenplays. And they apparently wrote a screenplay that was very close to the video games.
Okay.
They had a lot more fantasy in it and a lot more, traditional, what you would think of with Mario, Luigi, Toad, King Koopa, all that. So I guess it was going to be King Koopa kidnaps Luigi's love interest, which is kind of similar to gain access to the crown. And then that was going to be the basic plot.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jankel and Morton, who were brought in after, I guess, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah. Jankel and Morton were brought in after to take over writing duties. So this husband and wife team came in and brought in to write or do a pass on the script, I guess. And they hated, I guess, what they came up with this true to the game version. So they loved the script and hired Parker Bennett and Terry Ronte, to rewrite it. The version carried over the fantasy element Jinwee and Parker created, but they also leaned way more into sci-fi. Interesting take, very going off the trail on that one. But Nintendo liked it and approved the script. But Morton and Jankel, the directors, found it boring. And were very hands-on in the writing process, introducing new ideas for the movie's plot to involve a parallel universe where the dinosaurs actually survived and evolved into humans and the fungus that was covering its areas and streets. So that whole weirdness of the movie is brought to you by this weird husband and wife team that kind of didn't like what was going on writing-wise.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, later, Runty and Bennett were fired in the middle of the rewrite. They hired Dick Clement and Lon La Frenez, I guess. I'm not sure on the pronunciation there, to rewrite the script. The producers deemed the script too action heavy, which is really odd. and too far away from the games, causing the producers at this time to replace them with Ed Solomon and Ryan Rowe. They made the movie more lighthearted, a couple of scenes including a proposal and a wedding scene involving Mario and his girlfriend, Daniela. But Jankel and Morton again hated the script and almost abandoned the project due to creative limitations put on them by the producers. But they stayed on. And before one action was yelled on set, the movie script had been rewritten by 9 different writers.
Oof.
Yeah. So, woo.
Now I gotta say, speaking of the directors here, it does look like this movie may have killed at least Rocky Morton's career, because he never made another feature film after this. He did a short music video, documentary, but it was like a segment. It wasn't like an actual thing. And then I guess it got tied up in the Abbey Road stuff, because then Annabelle Jankel's next big thing that she did after this, of course, wasn't until 2009, which was Live from Abbey Road, which is a series. So yeah, man. Woo. I think they're the ones that definitely took the hit. Rightfully so. It sounds like they were definitely making the additions to the movie that did not help it at all.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. Let's see what really happens.
Yeah. So 1992 is when production went into gear.
Okay. Well, at least it came out roughly in a normal pace. It wasn't Mad Max Fury Road, as we've touched on, where it started in the 90s and
exactly. So, but this guy just goes to show that there was still a lot of because this was a mega game, right? Huge production. So there's a lot of people thinking there's a lot of money to be made here. So some money definitely got thrown in. So costs started going crazy high pretty quickly. They started to build huge, elaborate sets, apparently, in a cement factory in North Carolina.
Hey, shout out to North Carolina.
Yeah. A 5-story mega complex in North Carolina, which apparently was a castle in Castle Hayne. I've never heard of it in North Carolina. By the way, we live in North Carolina. Don't know this place. Maybe you'll look it up. I didn't get to look it up. But apparently this mega complex was used for Terminator 2 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So both movies, by the way, ginormous. So it goes to show you how much
they can do it.
We
can do it, right?
This movie's getting the Teenage Mutant Turtles and Terminator treatment. So that means there's a lot of going into this movie. So they hire production designer David L. Snyder, who worked on Blade Runner. And he was apparently
can I feel that in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, the post-apocalyptic kind of look to it, I guess, right? And he was gonna really kind of go full out Blade Runner. There was gonna be this intricate, multi-level future city dominated by neon signs and metal walkways. So this was gonna cost a lot of money, and so we needed more investors.
Yeah. Okay, so now, where we land, by the way, roughly is at $48 million, roughly, as an estimate of budget in this. So when Tim's saying a lot of money is being thrown in, $48 million is quite a lot of money back in the day. I mean, this is pre your Marvel movies where we're spending on average, upwards to 100, if not more, $1 million on a movie. So to throw at $48 million really does speak volumes as to the success that they were hoping to bring in with this film, but also the pressure very quickly mounting on the entire team with that kind of money being thrown in.
Yeah. And remember, this is a small production company.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't have the money like this. So they're going to need some other people to jump in here. So they start going to other places. So they go to Hollywood Pictures, which is part of Walt Disney at this time. And they said yes, and they decided to kick some funding over. But they started getting worried about all this darker tone stuff, this dark and gritty Mario movie that Nintendo oddly wanted. and they rightly said, this doesn't look like a kid's movie. So this is where I guess the producers here started to panic, and they started scrambling to do more rewrites. So this is where they brought in, mind you, I think this is already, I don't know if this person's included in the 9 different people brought in to write, or this is added to the 9 different people who already did that one I'm not clear on. But this is where they bring in Ed Sullivan, who co-wrote Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So
fair enough. Again, they're getting top tier people. They are trying to set themselves up as best as they can. Clearly, things go wrong.
Yeah. So when the actors who've been attached now for a while, right? When they arrive on set in North Carolina, they were distraught and displeased when they were handed the new scripts. Understanding their displeasure, the producers brought back Parker Bennett and Terry Runty to rewrite for it for the 10th time and act as consultants on set. So they were handed the new script and told to go shoot. And it had already, they had already storyboarded the whole movie and planned the sets and everything. And the new scripts there kind of ruined all of that. So this is going to cause a lot of problems, obviously, because storyboards, I don't know if everybody's aware of, but, you know, are kind of a big blueprint of what you're going to do. It's kind of hard to do any kind of filmmaking on the fly, and having good plans is a good way of making sure things are safe and you execute a good movie. So to now, you've done all these storyboards and all these constructions of sets and all this, and now we have a new script rewrite. So Ryan Haas, founder of Super Mario Bros. The Movie Archive, I think Rocky took the storyboards out onto the lot and set fire to them. They were on the verge of quitting right there. So, wow, people didn't take it well.
Holy Jesus, man.
Yeah. John Leguizamo in 1992. Every day's a new page. It's like the waiting for the news. What the hell happened yesterday? And there it is, all new, all live, 24 hours, ding, ding, ding. The writer of the piece, Richard Slayton, wrote that the cast and crew heavily disliked Morton and Jankel, often mocking them and giving them various nicknames, including the Hydra. People also wore shirts with the nicknames on them on the set.
Good God, man.
Talk about toxic, where you're
openly
wearing shirts that are mocking your bosses. Nothing's happening to these people.
Respect is not an option at this point. Wow.
So I don't know what draft I got, but by the time we started shooting, it had completely changed, says Edson. And not only that, but they had the writers there constantly rewriting it. Their basic approach seemed to be, how dumb can we make this? It didn't make any sense to me or any of the other actors. It had no spirit or energy. It was hard to get behind it.
Good Lord.
John Leguizamo explains that Morton and Jankel actually shot sexually explicit scenes that included strippers. By the way, kids game, Super Mario Brothers. Though Leguizamo,
this husband and wife duo, man, if they have kids, I'm curious about their parenting style. Kids movie, right? So clearly we'll do kid stuff, like, okay, colorful, cool. Well, not too colorful. We'll go dark. Obviously, we'll throw in the strippers, and obviously, not sure why that's not so obvious.
I feel like a big part of this also has to be like, what in the world was Nintendo thinking about this dark and gritty take they wanted? Like,
and we're on the precipice now of a new adaptation of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, and animated though.
And I think they now know how to go about it. They're going a very different approach, and it will likely be very successful.
Probably. Wow. So Leguizamo apparently doesn't go into detail about the scenes. It wouldn't be hard to believe that Morton and Jankel added a strip club in Dino Hatton, especially as the movie is influenced by 3-breasted women featuring Total Recall. So apparently Total Recall was an influence on this movie.
Bruh. You know what this Mario Brother movie needs? What? 3-breasted women. You know
Yeah,
what?
of course.
You're right. It does. I like the way you think.
It got to the point where Edson and his co-star Fisher Stevens, who were playing Koopa's henchmen, they were decided to just kind of do their own thing. The first scene we shot was from the beginning of the movie. He says, we were following Daisy and we were in the car and we had a little bit of dialogue and it really sucked. So I had this idea, let's create our own. The writers couldn't care less. And if we could improve the script, they were more than happy. So we did our own dialogue and they loved it. And from that moment on, they let Fisher and Edson here do all their own dialogue. And that made it a lot more fun for them, at least. But so anything from the comedy relief of this movie is just the two actors doing wherever the heck they wanted.
Good. Whoa. Okay. Whoa. Yeah, I guess there's some stuff where they were like dressed, everyone in leather and bondage gear.
Are you looking at the shots of this?
No, I'm reading more about it. And then obviously
okay.
the Leguizamo comments about the strippers and sexually explicit content that they did shoot, but ended on the cutting room floor, and they killed off people too. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't want to make a kids movie. Good Lord.
So 2
leather
weeks
and bondage gear, bro.
Yeah, that's pretty extreme.
Now I have to explain some uncomfortable. I have to have uncomfortable conversations with my child after watching.
I think I remember like there's like a Big Bertha character or something that might have had a gist of the Total Recall thing. Now that I remember, really weird. But anyway, 2 weeks into the shoot, Solomon got another call. I had done as much as I could do with the script and felt like it was at least coherent. He said it had cohesive characters and an interesting story. When I got down there, Rocky had cut it up with a bunch of other stuff he liked from other drafts and a bunch of new stuff, literally chopped it into pieces and taped it together. There was no through line. On set, there was also a sense that nothing was certain. The production designers and special effects people didn't know what they were building. The actors had arrived and they didn't know what they were playing. There was just a general sense of what the bleep is going on. So, now we got some Hoskins comments here. So Bob Hoskins, all these rewrites are frustrating, so I don't do too much research. When the cameras weren't rolling, John Leguizamo and Hoskins would drink whiskey in between takes, per Leguizamo's autobiography. This led to Hoskins' hand having to be put in a cast after the sliding door on the Murray Brothers truck slid on it during a stunt after Leguizamo hit the gas and braked too quickly. So they were doing some drunk driving, I guess, on set, it seems.
Oh my God, bro.
Hoskins got cruelly dismissive and said, how do I prepare for the role? I'm the right shape. I've got a mustache.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
He was dressed as a humanoid dinosaur, heavily made up in the sweltering North Carolina heat. His hair gelled into a weird row of reptilian spikes. He has seen happen to him. His lines got rewritten moments before filming several times before this following incident. Okay.
Now, so who are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about, sorry, not Bob Hoskins. We're talking about
Dennis Hopper, right?
Dennis Hopper here. Sorry.
Now we're talking about Dennis Hopper.
We're now talking about Dennis Hopper. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Hoskins was the interesting thing with the drinking.
Yeah, of course.
So now we're
Very
talking about, I guess this is like one of the most famous incidents in the movie or in the behind the scenes of this movie. And I guess it wanted to give you some, backdrop of him being dressed up and the heat and all this kind of stuff. And so,
explain where his head's at in this leading into the situation.
And again, remember, he was only supposed to be there for like 5 weeks.
Bro, you are teasing this up a lot. Okay, if he doesn't murder one of the PAs on set, I'm going to be a little disappointed.
Well, then you might be disappointed, man. That's pretty heavy. Okay. So he gets rewritten lines moments before filming. Okay. So Dennis Hopper, who according to co-star Richard Edson in a 2018 interview with The Guardian, walked onto the set and yelled, you rewrote my lines to the director. You call this writing? This is shit. It's shit. And the fact that you do it without asking me, he went on, and he couldn't control himself. Meanwhile, there were our 300 extras waiting for the next scene. Rocky and Annabelle start begging him. They're like, Dennis, please tell us what you want. We'll do anything. But he wasn't through yelling at them. People were knocking on the door and producers were going out trying to tell people what the hell was going on. Finally, Rocky and Annabelle said, look, you rewrite the scene. We'll go back to the original, whatever you want. And finally he goes, okay, we'll do the scene the way it's written now. Everyone sighs. We go back 3.5 hours after it was meant to be done. We do the scene exactly the way it was written when he started.
Nothing like, I'm going to throw a tantrum.
Yeah.
And that's all, because we're not going to have any new resolve to this. We'll still do the shit that I'm calling shit. But at least you heard me, and I vocally expressed that this is terrible.
Well, not only is it vocal, but I mean, the part that is insane to me is this yelling rant went on for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, man. And movie time too, like every minute on set is costing so much money.
Yeah,
especially when you've got people like on a big day where you've got that many extras. All their time is costing money. Mm-hmm. You've got all the wardrobe people that have to keep these people up to speed, make sure that their costumes are looking good. If they've got makeup, that's still good.
Yeah.
If we've moved off of set, there might have to be relighting. Like there's just so many facets that go into a big day like that with that many extras. And then to have it derailed like that too. And especially like, is this indoor? Is this outdoor? Is our lighting now vastly different because we've shifted later into the day now? Like,
yeah,
good God.
So apparently the initial incident outburst, whatever, was 45 minutes. And then they called lunch. Okay. So it led to an extended delay. And apparently he continued to yell during that incident, during that lunch.
I like to think that he's like eating his sandwich. And by the way, it's still shit. Okay. I still hate it. But this burger is pretty good. It's better than the script you gave me. Did I mention that it was shit? Thanks. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure you remember.
I would have really loved to read that Dennis Hopper just rewrote the scene. That would have sounded so much cooler.
Why not? Everyone else is writing this thing.
So toward the end of the allotted 10-week shoot, it was clear that there was still a lot more work required, but money was running out. A planned finale on the Brooklyn Bridge laden with special effects would have to be scuppered. I don't know. It's a weird thing here in the notes here. I we were supposed to wrap the movie, but our producers determined that we still had 2.5 to 3 weeks of shooting to do, says Mathis. The directors were thanked and told, you can leave now. We're going to make the rest of the movie without you. At that point, it was abundantly clear things had gotten out of control.
Now, who are you talking about with regards to, are you talking about the producer? Like that they don't need the producer anymore?
No, the directors.
Oh.
The directors are told to leave.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's still significant, like what they say, 2 to 3.5 weeks of shooting left, and the directors are told to go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof. Not ideal. Back to Bob Hoskins. Apparently, he almost died a couple of times of electrocution and drowning. Which is hardly surprising given how those very things happen in the movie and how there was a clear lack of health and safety during the movie's production. Hoskins also notes that he got stabbed 4 times, which sounds fatal, but he doesn't go into any further detail.
Bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Remember, when you're doing things off the cuff and you don't have storyboards and you don't have things expertly planned out, things can go bad.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right.
Little bit.
Our last Tales of the Set, right? We kind of had the opposite. Like there were bad things happen, but everything was so detailed, planned.
Yeah.
For crazy, insane stunts that everything was safe and nobody got hurt or anything really, at least nothing crazy. And here you have your star.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that he's like drink driving with Leguizamo, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Well, I mean, this isn't Leguizamo's book.
Well,
his
okay.
autobiography that he wrote that they were drinking. So,
oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Big oofs. All right. So we almost lost the legend Hoskins to the Super Mario Brothers film. Nice.
Yeah. So I guess to give maybe some reasonings, right? Because originally this couple was hired by the producers to make this dark and gritty script, but the money getting funneled in from like Disney and such was like, this is supposed to be a kids movie. Like we need to make jokes and stuff like that here. So the directors they're seeing the movie that they were told they were making changing, I guess. Right. And I guess that was part of maybe why there were so many issues, right? Because there was different motives from a bunch of different groups here, right? Nintendo wanted dark and gritty. The money people did not want it dark and gritty, and so different. Yeah, I don't know, but Jankel and Morton here, right? Not only were they told to leave, right, but they were locked out of the editing room.
Oh man, they're just trying to get them out entirely.
Yeah. And they were only allowed into the editing room ever having to go to the Directors Guild of America to try to get help to get them back into the editing room.
Good God.
Yeah. So the movie gets released in 93. And this is also the exact same time that Jurassic Park is released. So we got more dino movies released basically at the same time. So not surprising with all these issues. Super Mario Brothers bombed real hard and only made back $20.9 million of its $48 million budget.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it was a mess. And for co-directors Jankel and Morton marked their last Hollywood movie they would make. The couple have since gone back to their TV and music video roots. Bob Hoskins says, the worst thing I ever did, Super Mario Brothers, it was a blanking nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent. Hoskins then explained that after so many fights, the directing duo was told by their agent to get off the set, which we talked about. Super Mario Brothers was the first movie to employ the soon-to-be pervasive CGI software, Autodesk Flame, then still in beta, and had helped to shape the direction of computer special effects.
Yeah, I still have Flame artists on my team today.
Wow. A lot of the crew we've spoken to are proud of the work they did, says Applebaum. A major advocate is Christopher Woods, who does supervise the film's visual effects. He's talked about how innovative the work they were doing was. So imagine, it's kind of weird to think about, like it makes me think about the movie now differently because it's such a bad movie, but somehow it actually has a significant historical movie existence because it was kind of like the guinea pig beginning of a lot of the special effects we have today somehow is in Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, man.
And there you have it. That's our tale.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at Chris F. Woods right now. He also was a VFX producer on Jacob's Ladder in 1990.
Ooh, good movie.
VFX designer for Terminal Velocity in 94.
I actually kind of like that movie.
Yeah. And then it's not really a whole lot of much known stuff, but he's not supervising really. Like now he's just like working in DaVinci, or he's a colorist. Like he was a VFX QC colorist on Ghost in the Shell in 2017. So
I have a hot take there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you do.
I'm not a fan.
Have you seen the original anime though?
That's what I'm talking about.
You don't like the anime?
I have not watched the live action because I didn't care for the original.
Well, the biggest debate is that there's quite a leap from the anime to that. So
I get that as much, but to me, I'm like, yeah, you guys have overrated this anime so much that I feel like maybe they improved upon it. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I can't say officially.
Yeah, I think that's the same with Cowboy Bebop. getting in off on a little bit of a rant there, but if you hadn't seen the anime, you might like the show. If you've seen the anime, then you might not like the show. It's one of those kind of.
Can I give you more hot takes here though?
Oh God, quickly.
I kind of like the show.
Cowboy Bebop.
And I liked the anime too. I liked both.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. It's on my list. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I
was kind of crushed when I heard it wasn't going to get renewed or picked up again after
this. That's the downside is if you have, even if it's a minority, if they're vocal enough, it can still tank. Yeah, a franchise.
I feel like I would be worried if I got like my stuff made by Netflix because
there's a lot of times where they won't renew.
Yeah, you're either like making them tons of money or they're like, we're going to get rid of you really quick.
HBO is pretty consistent though. Like they usually will renew before a show's even finish its first season.
Although who knows now with Discovery that might change. I guess.
I mean, Winning Time is for sure happening, which was a show I was very fortunate to work on. There's a season 2 happening already in production. And then not Game of Thrones, House of Dragon and I'm sure that will 100%. Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, before we go, quick reminder, next week we will be off air, but we will return on the 21st with our in-depth review of Don't Worry, Darling, directed by Olivia Wilde, which has had its own drama in recent days as we're recording this with. Did he spit or did he not spit?
Exactly. Did he? What do you think? I see.
So there's 2 theories going right now, and we're not a gossipy podcast, but we'll end with a little bit of some hot goss, if you will.
It's fascinating to see the talk surrounding this movie. Like it's kind of like watching a train crash or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think the movie will be good, but yeah, like Florence Pugh, apparently
there's some bad buzz now too.
Yeah, well, Florence Pugh is like, there's like rumors that she was not happy with certain things, and then her people are saying, oh, that's not true. So there's like a lot of stuff going on. Obviously the funnier one would be did Chris Pine get spit on by Harry Styles? And
they both deny
it. There's 2 theories here, and I obviously the one is that he spit on him for sure,
right?
The other one, and in fairness, like the body movement, I can understand why people might think that, right? However, the theory that's probably the actual case, and it's not great because it's embarrassing, but I feel like I've also myself done this, is prior to Harry Styles sitting down, he puts his glasses in his lap on the chair. And then I feel like when Harry Styles is sitting down, he has a moment where he's like, where are my glasses? And then he looks down, and then he's got like that look of like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Like I just literally put these glasses here and like I forgot where they were in that brief. Like, so that's a theory. And I got to tell you, it would mirror the same kind of movements and facial reactions that he has. Because if you were like, I just put my sunglasses on, you're like, wait, where are my sunglasses? And you look down, you're like, oh God, I'm an idiot. Like you would have that exact reaction too. And
sure.
I feel like the timing of it, I feel like that's probably more likely. There's also another theory that maybe he pretend spit on Chris Pine, like as a practical joke. And then Chris Pine looked down to see if he spit on him and he realized he didn't. And then it's kind of the, oh, you got me kind of reaction too. But I guess you could say we'll never know. I mean, I think we won't know why he made the reaction, but the official is that he did not spit on Chris Pine.
I feel like we have a Tales from the Set here in a few years.
It's brewing. It's brewing. And if we do not feature this clip from our old podcast at that time of us debating the spit take, but yeah.
I'm still excited to see it. I'm still too. Down. Yeah.
I wonder if he spits on him in the movie. There's a lot of sexy stuff going on. Maybe he does. I don't know.
There you go. Maybe.
Awesome. Well, it is time to wrap the show. Please show your support for the podcast by leaving a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music. Leave a comment on YouTube, wherever you happen to listen or watch the show. Any positive feedback and or constructive criticism, although we do like to say, hey, put it in the email, filmasweknowitpod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
But again, sharing with your friends never hurts. Be sure to follow us on social media and get the latest show updates. You can find us by searching for the hashtag FilmAsWeKnowItPod, POD. Again, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Film As We Know It podcast. You guys have a great week.
Peace out, everybody.